Hey, mini wargame fans. All right, it's time for a GCPS range review for Epic Warpath. In this video, I'll talk a little bit about why you might want to play the GCPS and maybe why you wouldn't. We'll look at the total list of everything that I've built. Then the bulk of the video is going to be me talking over models and giving you some assembly tips and what I think about the general models overall. And we'll cap that off with a summary, kind of a tier review of all the models in the range. All right, so why might you want to play GCPS? Well, if you like the Starship Troopers vibe that they give off, and if you like a sort of strike and hold paratrooper sort of gameplay style, then this might totally be the army for you. The GCPS have some rules which allow them to shoot better when they're within 3 inches of an objective, which is really cool. So you want to be pushing onto and holding those objectives, and then you can do some other things with them around moving after you shoot or firing multiple times if enemies are close to you. So yeah, they give off the human sort of paratrooper, veteran, ranger sort of feel. And they also have some very beautiful models in the range, some of the best in Epic Warpath, I think. All right, so maybe why not? Well, they may not be the most competitive army. You may struggle to hold on to those objectives. You may get blown off of them by indirect fire and things like that. So I don't really know. We're all still learning some of the game, but that's my guess is they're probably in the middle to lower end of competitive armies. And while they do have this beautiful looking GCPS battle mech that I have right here, and I've talked about how beautiful their miniatures are, they also have some scaling issues with the cast resin in their reinforcements. And honestly, I think maybe the worst hard plastic miniature in all of Epic Warpath they include as well too. We'll talk about it, but let's show you just kind of here's a brief list of everything that I built. So in the core plastic army, what I built were 2 groups of Marines. Those are 6 30 mil bases each, so that's 12 total bases there, if you understand the nomenclature that I'm putting down. 2 groups of rangers and 5 groups of lieutenants. That amount of lieutenants you do not need. That's way too many. That would be 5 companies of guys. It's a little bit much. Um, I built 2 autocannon teams and 2 laser cannon teams. 1 group of monocycles, precious monocycles, 1 group of tac drones, 2 groups of striders, 2 groups of mules, and then 2 groups of lancer tanks and lancer APCs. So that's essentially everything. What I didn't fully build, though, you could still squeeze out 1 more group of rangers and 1 more group of marines. Why didn't I build them? Well, I use their miniatures in different ways. I still may actually go and build that group of rangers. We'll see how I'm feeling. But it's a lot of guys, and because I have the reinforcements, I didn't feel like I needed to build those core troops. And speaking of the reinforcements, this is kind of why I built a group of Marine vets, a group of Ranger tank hunters, 1 major, 1 Canis command mule, 1 group of Ajax striders, 1 group of Unger artillery vehicles, a Wolverine tanks, Wolverine APCs, and then 2 transport Hornets and 2 gunship Hornets. And along with that, I also have a super heavy. You saw it already. I've got that battle mech, but what don't I have? The only model I don't have is the Maul battleship. It's heavily on my wish list. I will have it someday. But let's jump into the assembly video. We'll start off with the infantry. Biggest trick for the infantry is just knowing what's a Marine and what's a Ranger. And the Ranger obviously has more armor, a closed helmet, a different type of rifle, and yada, yada, yada. Should look remarkably different. But at 10 mm scale, it's actually a little bit trickier than you might think unless you've got really young eyes. But the big standout feature is the backpack, and I'll show you on sprue as well too. So Marines have a flat, just kind of flak jacket there, whereas the Rangers have jump packs, and that's how I identify them. I clipped them all out and divvied them up and did some planning. I went into the companion app and kind of figured out a mock-up of a 2,000 point army that I want to build. Like what should it be like, and kind of built towards that. Um, because I was doing that, and you may find that with your core army, you build everything. You may also love painting. You'll build everything. If painting kind of ends up being a little bit more of a chore and you maybe want to use poses in different ways, you might do what I've done, which is choose not to maybe build everything and choose to move some models that are from different places, not exactly recommended on the build guide. And so let's talk about that. So, uh, in my Marines here, I have a guy with binoculars who comes from the heavy weapons side of the house. And I've got a guy with a jaunty cap looking at his communications device. Ziggy for Quantum Leap or something going on there. Um, yeah, so you can do things like that, provided the armor type is the same. I think you're safe. I'll show you. This is the most goofy one. So this is a guy in marine armor here, but he actually has a Ranger pulse rifle. Technically, he's a veteran, and I'll show you that upcoming. But that's he's just gonna blend in and look there. If I paint that rifle the exact same color as the other ones, you won't even notice it. I could paint it different though. So yeah, that's just giving me a little bit more model zip and pizzazz. And by doing that, I'm taking one of these infantry guys that I'd normally place there, and now I have him to use. Well, what can I do with him? Well, I can use him like this. I can put him on the command side of the house. And the command is, two to a base, two to a 30 millimeter base. Let me show you my Marines. I opted to build 3 of the Marine type command units there. One guy with binoculars, almost standing in line like that. That's pretty cool. These guys more standing abreast. Uh-huh. And then this guy, which you already saw like that. So there's an idea there. And then for Ranger leadership, I can't remember what these leader units are, HQ units, but I've got a guy shooting and a guy walking. So now normally how it tells you to do it in the build guide is to put this guy with the cap next to this guy. Well, in my brain, those are completely 2 different units. Those are 2 different yeah, they would not I don't think they go together, but, you can also do that as well. And then that also made it so that I was putting we'll jump over to the support weapons. So regular Marines down next to the support weapons. And the support weapons are super easy to put together. They just two to a base on the 2 hole side. Um, Pretty great. All right, so in cast 3D printed resin rather, 3D printed resin from Mantic Direct. We have a major, which should technically, I think, come as with somebody else next to him, but I just put him as a singleton on a little dusty mountain peak there. And he's great, fine. He's got the coat, which is GCPSE and Rebby. Actually, it's more Rebs in my mind than. But yep, he's fine, totally adequate, good. And then you got veterans. Oh no, these are tank hunters. Ha! Ranger tank hunters. They're very cool. I think it is a little bit goofy that they're gonna like jetpack and drop mines onto tanks. They should probably have a reach out and touch you anti-tank weapon, but they're still really good. I like them for the model variety. There's 6 stands total of these guys, but there's no real difference and no model variation that I'm putting in there. Cool unit. And then there are the veterans, and there are those Marines with the Ranger different rifle, right? So there they are, and again, 6 stands of these guys, really cool. I like them all, but the plastic Marines are definitely the standouts to me. The Rangers, if I didn't mention, they're a little bit flat on top with the shooting poses, just kind of how plastic molding goes, but they're still really lovely and nice. Excited for them all. And to bridge the gap, get into our wheeled vehicle stuff, we'll look at technically, I think these are troop choices, but these are monocycles. And I did a little thing here where I clipped these monocycles off the base so I could put them leaning at a jaunty angle. And then these guys are, of course, flat. So they're more or less in a similar pose there, but just one with the lean. Yeah, and there's 6 of these guys, right? Really, actually, a great little miniature. I quite like them a lot. All right, up next, let's talk vehicles. Just kidding. Before we get to vehicles, we're going to talk striders and drones. Drones, man, the attack drones should be a little bit bigger. Should have come in 2 parts so they could be walking actually off the ground more. Uh, I think these are my least favorite miniature in the whole entire Epic Warpath range. Tragedy too, because I think these actually they're very good in game. I do not like them one bit though, and am looking to avoid not using them, or avoid using them rather. Now let's talk about my most favorite miniatures of the GCPS range, the Striders. These guys are absolutely brilliant at this scale. They're really, really lovely. So you've got one with the burst laser and one the Ajax. I really like the Ajax as well too. This guy is cast resin. This is from core. This is reinforcements. This guy, sorry, I keep saying cast resin, printed resin, um, goes together in a snap. You just glue the arms on in whatever poses you want. You get 3 of them. Amazing. Love them. These guys, on the other hand, are the hardest miniature to put together, um, in for your core army. So my assembly tips for you here is glue the straight arm into the hand here. It has a little tab and slot. Let that set up good. Then cut off the other tab on this arm, apply good amounts of plastic glue around here, and then wiggle into place. You'll see here on this edge, his wrist maybe is not perfectly seated there, but if you try and make it so it's going in the exact pose, then you'll have that exact pose all the way across. By cutting that post out and just letting glue do its job and get a seating and position that you like, you're going to get slight variation in the arm poses from how far away this is from the body. Like he's almost like he's doing exercises here or something. Um, you'll get a little bit of variation in that, and it's just way easier and less time consuming than trying to actually put it in the position that it wants. So yeah, these are now let's talk wheeled vehicles, tanks, tracks, and our flyer. Okay, so uh let's go. Well, first up, let's talk mules. So we have the regular mule, which is actually pretty good scale, not too bad. It's maybe just a weensy bit small for what it is in reality. Not a ton of detail on it. The model that takes the most cleanup, scraping all these mold lines on these wheels is time consuming. You could scrape the door ledge there, I suppose, a little bit down. There's a little bit of almost like flash there. Yeah, but a cool, good little model. What about our command and our Unger, or whatever this thing is called? Um, you know, I gotta say, the scale change here hurts a little bit. It's clear this was probably the original scale that the mule was before it got embiggened. Mantic really worked hard to give us as good a scale vehicles as they could on the core plastic sprues. I think these were probably cast without knowing that that change was coming or before the change was there. They kept them all there. Mantic is saying that's because these are a different mark. They were an earlier prototype of this. And yeah, I mean, you know, Mantic, as the saying goes, I know you're trying to do well by us, but what is it? The road to hell is paved with good intentions. Yeah, so our good intentions got us a really good mule, which is good because not only is it in the GCPS range, but it's in the Marauders and the Plague as well. So it's a good vehicle. These guys are just a little bit weensy, but they are cute. They also have some casting defects where these look a little bit like squashed crescent rolls at the back sometimes. Not the best, but you know what? For what they are, they're serviceable. Am I going to invest a ton of time in painting them and making them beautiful? No. But they're still good as what they are. Do I hate them as much as the tac drones? No, not even close. These tac drones, these things are wow, they're just game pieces. They're not even really miniatures. All right. Wolverine APCs and Lancer APCs. So, uh, yeah, our Wolverines are just too diminutive. Again, we're in this casting scale is just not right for the cast resin here. Um, and it's kind of a bummer. These guys should be at least as big as the Lancers, if not bigger. Overall, a very easy model to assemble though. How to use the hot water trick to get my barrels flat. They're fine. Uh, don't don't hate them, don't love them, but I do generally love a good Wolverine in the right scale, but, those ones should be made better, and now we come to the Lancer, which I think I like the APC Lancer better than I like the tank flavor. Great little kit. I think my plan is to put a little, like, clear kitchen cabinet bumper on the bottom of this. You know, it's just self-adhesive. It'll stick there. I'll use a little super glue on it. And that little clear thing will just let it sit up a little bit from the table like that, giving it almost giving it a more Lev tank look to it without much pain at all. So that's the plan there. And I think these little hunks of plastic are cute. They're good. Excited to see these eventually in firefight as well, or dead zone scale. Yeah, well, I guess dead zone they'd be terrain, and firefight they'd be a unit. Yeah, they're good. So yeah, of all of the true vehicles, the winner to me is the Mule. Um, mm, it's a toss up, Mule or APC Lancer. Not sure which. Again, casts are a little small. The true winner overall, the whole army, got to be the Striders. And now we'll come to my biggest disappointment because I really wanted to love the Hornet for Epic Warpath, but unfortunately, it's a little bit. I don't really have a ton of assembly tips. Just do it, but you're gonna have to maybe fill or watch your seating here of the front cockpit. I've got more work to do here to just make that look even and good. Little filler will have to go in there, and the real issue here to me is like, how many guys are you fitting in that thing? Since one guy in the cockpit and one guy in back, that's about it because this is just too small. So I think, you know, for right now, for 1.0 of the game, it's perfectly fine. Understand this happens, but I think for 2.0, with these guys scaled up, I mean, that will just be amazing. I would pay to get bigger, scaled up versions of these guys, or probably what's really going to happen. I'll 3D print them and play with them myself that way. All right. And it's time for the big bad Mech. Here we go. There he is. So, the GCPS Battle Mech. Yeah. I've spent a lot of time building up this base here. I unknowingly, I think I put him in a walking position that is very similar to what is shown on the website. That just happens by my brain not looking. Pretty easy to assemble. This piece, gluing that piece together, the front and back of the main torso, the little arm on this guy, excuse me, a little arm on this guy and the top missile rack together. Then just working my way from the feet from the bottom on up. And then I use contact adhesive super glue in here to just get enough play to allow those to be glued in the position I wanted. And then I used a little bit of super glue welding just back in there where you can't really see it, and just use regular super glue there. And here the idea is, we got, again, I'm going to use some of the models the miniatures that I have left over because I didn't build everything, and mix and match and use. So I've got one Marine up here saying halt to his infantrymen while we send the mech forward, stomping forward. Yeah, should be pretty cool. And we've got some stress effects on that concrete here, what will be concrete, and smashed concrete on the back, underneath the back foot there. Hopefully it turns out really good. I'm excited to paint it up. Really love it. Okay. And I think, like, yeah, I mean, it's kind of a toss-up. Is that could be my favorite, but I still give it to the Strider. It's just so Epic Warpath, so cool. Just want an army of Striders attacking. You can't build it that way, but all right, let's rate these guys into their tiers, starting with the infantry, then vehicles, small vehicles, wheeled vehicles, the tanks, and the Hornets and the battle mech. So this is how, if you've been listening along, you probably could sort those like that and be pretty close to what I chose. What do you think, based on either what you saw on screen or if you have GCPS, what is your favorite miniature? I'll leave with a little exit reel of some other close shots here on the way out, and I really appreciate y'all watching. And I'll catch you in the next one. All right, bye-bye.